Hey everybody, welcome to T-Roy Cooks. Appreciate you joining us. Cheers to you and welcome to another Thursday Chatting with Troy. Thanks again for all the support and the feedback. I'm loving it and I'm glad you folks are loving it as well. I got another beer here from Deep Ellum Brewery. Let's see which one we got here. This is the Rye Pills. It's pretty doggone good too. I like this. So that's 3 beers now from Deep Ellum that I found that I like. And I picked up some from a local brewery down in Dripping Springs, just southwest of Austin. I'll try to save one so we can test it on the next video as well. Anyway, got a bunch of questions here. We're ready to get going. And again, if you're first time here, what I do is answer viewer questions from folks like you. At the end of this video, if you have a question, leave it in the comments down below. If it's an urgent question where I need to answer you promptly, let me know so I don't put it on my list and answer it a month later. If I mention any YouTube buddies of mine or channels out there or any products you may be interested in, or if you want to check out my social media and stuff, all of that's down in the description below. Just hit show more beneath the video to open the description box. Everything will be there for you. I appreciate y'all checking that out. Also, the questions and where at in the video I'm answering them, they're in the description box as well. Just hit show more. Let's get going, folks. Peter Van Gulik. Hi Troy, recently discovered your channel and I'm loving it. Thanks Peter, I appreciate that, man. Says, I've got a couple of questions as a beginning barbecue enthusiast. And he does have a couple of questions. Look, they take up about half of this page. See if I can kind of skim through them here. See a lot of great products in your videos, like the Cajun Rocket Pot and with Surf and Sapo, and great looking rubs and sauces. Oh, he says, I live in the Netherlands, and every time I try to buy a product you use in your videos, it's not available over here. Yeah, I actually get that quite often. A lot of the stuff we have here in the States is produced here in the United States, and they don't ship worldwide, so I apologize about that. He really wants to try the Texas pepper jelly rib candy. That's some good stuff, man. Really good. I wish you could get some. But yeah, he says he can't get any unless he wants to spend an arm and a leg for shipping, you know, $50 or more. Do I know any way he might be able to get some? If you do not, do you know any good substitutes? No, that's part of the problem. I really do get this question quite often, Peter, and it's just a lot of it has to do with customs. Customs won't let food-based products leave the country, and a lot of them can't come in. I was trying to think of some products like anyway, Ireland makes some, oh, what is it, like some kind of a blood sausage or something. I forget what they call it. We can't get it here. They don't let it come in, you know. I really don't know how to get it to you, man. I really don't. I know people have tried to ship me stuff like from Canada, and customs got it. Just customs puts a stop to a lot of stuff if it's food based. So I don't know what to advise you on with that. Just try to find stuff locally, support your local businesses, and use their products. And just do like I do, man. Just keep trying different products that are local to you. Find one you like and use it. Promote it, you know, if you want. That's what I do. So I apologize for that, Peter. Second question. I've been using the biggest size Weber kettle and enjoying the hell out of it. Yeah, I need to get a Weber kettle, I really do. So he's been using it for about 2 years. That being said, he's ready to take barbecuing to another level. Mainly because I find the Weber is great for grilling, but less good for low and slow because it's harder to get it up to maintain temp. He's had his eye on the Weber Smoky Mountain for a while and was ready to buy one until he saw my Yoder Wichita. Fell in love with it. He looked them up, and they are being sold in the Netherlands, so that's good. I didn't know they were sold over there. But they have a hefty price tag of around $5,500 US. That is quite expensive. I mean, the fully loaded model that I have, without all the bells and whistles that I added to it, is about $1,900 US. So $5,500, that's pretty pricey. I wonder if they make them here and ship them over there. That may be why they're so much, because they're over 600 pounds. That could cost a lot in shipping. He says he knows some guys who make offset smokers for a living there locally. They have good quality, but he's torn because he can't put his hands on them. He's just trusting his friend's advice on maybe trying one locally. I would say try one locally, to be honest with you, Peter. That'd be the best way to go. And it sounds like you give me the thickness of the metal. That sounds fine. I've got 1/4 inch steel on mine, and you're talking about 15/64. So that's about the right range. I bet it would be a good smoker. What I would say to you maybe is find someone in your area that already has one of those. Maybe see if there's a forum or something in your area that you live in, and somebody's got one of those. Maybe you can drive over and have a cook with them, see how it works, or wait until the guy builds one and ask him to let you know, so you can go to his shop where he's made it and see if you can just look at it, you know, and then at that point make your decision. But yeah, I would think, I mean, the Yoders are fabulous, but that's a hefty price tag, man. I don't know if I'd pay that. Yeah, I think I would go locally. Just my advice, man. And apologizes for his English. No, man, your English is fine, Peter. Good. I appreciate the question, man. Here, cheers to you. I appreciate the support all the way from the Netherlands, man. Lewis Seals. Let's see what we got from Lewis. Mr. Troy, I have a question. Please accept my question, and it's an honest one. What exactly is barbecue? Now, don't get me wrong, I live in Memphis, Tennessee, which is supposedly one of the top barbecue cities in the world, but I did not always live here. Actually, growing up in Mississippi, I assumed barbecue meant cooking chicken on the grill and putting barbecue sauce on it. To my surprise, when I came to Memphis, you would be hard-pressed to find barbecue chicken, but barbecue seemingly meant pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw on it. Also, there is seemingly a difference between barbecuing and grilling. Is this a cultural thing or something based on location? At any rate, I look forward to hearing your response. God bless you. God bless you too, Lewis. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate the question. In my mind, barbecue means meat that has been cooked low and slow, primarily over a wood fire, or using wood as the source for the fuel in the pit. I think more of grilling as a gas grill, or something like the Weber kettle, or even the Kamado Joes and stuff. They're the Big Green Eggs. Those are more grilling type cookers, in my opinion. So I think it does have a lot to do with where you're from. I mean, in Australia, you know, they cook on the barbie all the time. In Africa, I was watching one of my buddies that I follow out in Africa, who's got a Facebook channel. They call barbecue or grilling braai, I think. Braai or bray. B-R-A-I-I, I think is how you say it. So it depends on where you're from, what they call it. But I know in those specific barbecue regions you're talking about, Kansas City, Memphis, North Carolina, Georgia area, Texas, you're talking about barbecue as meat that's been low and slow cooked over real wood. And it's succulent, man. You get a bark on the outside of the meat, not grill marks, but bark, because of the interaction with the smoke and the heat and the rubs, and it's melt in your mouth goodness, man. So that would be my 2 cents on that. I know there's a lot of debate out there about it, but that's just my 2 cents. So I appreciate the question, Lewis. Ice 2 Hot Lord. Hi, Troy. First of all, big fan of your videos. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I tried the Umai dry bag steaks process, and it turned out great after 90 days of dry aging. Woo, man, you've got some patience waiting 90 days. I don't know if I can go that long. Well, I bet that was good, though. First time I cooked my steak, which was medium rare, the meat was as tender as cutting through butter with a hot knife. The remainder I cut into 1.5-inch steaks and vacuum sealed and put them in the freezer. After 2 weeks, when I had cooked the steak, I used the same method as cooking earlier, which was the reverse sear. Cooking the steak in the oven at 110 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 minutes. When the internal temp came to 110 internal, I took it out and I seared it after resting it for 5 minutes on a hot cast iron skittle. Took it off when the internal temp was 125 Fahrenheit. But this time, when I had cut into the steak, it was not as tender as the last time, and neither was it as juicy as the first time. What went wrong? That's what I was talking about. I think it was in my last Thursday chat, where I'm not a huge fan of meat that has been previously frozen. There is something that freezing does to the fibers in the meat. And from what I've read and what I've heard, it's I got one of them yellow jackets flying around here. But what I think it does, the water molecules that are in the fibers of the meat burst, and that's going to take away from the flavor. It's also going to take away from the tenderness of the meat, and they're not going to be as juicy. So it's not that dissimilar from fresh meat, but it is enough of a difference where you can taste it if you put them side by side. I mean, if you didn't know the meat was previously frozen and you just cooked it and cut into it, you wouldn't know the difference. But I think that's what the problem is. There's something that freezing does to the fibers of the meat. Makes it a little tougher, not quite as juicy, and in my opinion, the flavor is just not exactly the same either. You didn't do anything wrong, though. I mean, that's a great way to save your meat if you're not going to, you know, especially after 90 days of aging, man. You don't want to just cook all of that steak unless you're having a big, huge party. You know, you want to savor it over time. The best way is to freeze it. That's the only way you're going to preserve it, man. Let's see what else we got. Austin Grove. How you doing, Austin? Been around a while. T-Roy, my man, question for you. How would you do an uncured pork belly on your smoker? Any of them. He's talking about any of my smokers. He said, I think I'm looking to get a pork belly that's crisp on the top and slices like a brisket. Look forward to how you would do it and your suggestions. Cheers to you, my man. Cheers to you, Austin. Let me give this one some thought. Hang on. I think I would do it similar to a pork butt to get it tender, so it would slice like a brisket. Now, you don't want to cook it all the way. In my opinion, you don't want to cook it all the way like you would a pork butt that you're going to pull. You want to cook it like a pork butt you're going to slice. So you want to take it to about 165-ish, maybe 175-ish, somewhere in that range. And that'll be perfect for slicing. It'll still be tender, and it'll be in the smoker long enough for that fat to render through the meat and give it a lot of flavor. Now, what I would do, I would go ahead and smoke it on the smoker until it reached that 165, 175 internal temp. Then I would take it off and I would put it on a hot grill, like my gas grill, or I would put my grill grate directly over my fire. I'd flip that fat cap over to the bottom side, and I would sear the skin, and that'll make it crispy. It's cracklings, man. That's good stuff. That's what I would do. I need to do that though, man. That sounds fantastic. I've had a lot of requests to do some pork belly. I do need to do that. Make homemade bacon. Philo Beto. I'm not sure this has been asked, but Weber Smoke. Hang on, Philo. I'm not sure if this has been asked, but WSM, what fuel do you prefer, lump or Kingsford? Maybe different cooks may call for one over the other. Maybe higher temp for shorter cooks, Kingsford for longer, since they all burn at the same rate. No, I determine what fuel I'm going to use based on what I'm cooking, at what temp I want to cook mainly. If I'm using, let's say if I'm using my Kamado Joe, I like lump because it produces less ash, but you still get the temps. In fact, lump will get really, really hot. On my Weber Smoky Mountain, I don't use lump because the lump gets too hot. I would rather use Kingsford or some other briquette, charcoal briquette, in my Weber Smoky Mountain, and just use wood chunks for some smoke. And of course on my offset, it's just pure wood. I may start the fire using some briquettes or some lump, mainly lump, but once I have that lump going, I'll throw some real wood on there, some logs, and get it going that way, and keep it going. So if you're cooking chicken or something like that, go ahead, use lump or real wood, because you want those higher temps. But again, it depends on the cooker. Weber Smoky Mountain, I would only use briquettes. I guess you could use briquettes in the Kamado, but man, that's going to be a mess to clean up with all that ash. Great question though, man. Let's see, James Fatno. What's the best way to get the soot off charcoal while cooking? I don't really have to worry about that a whole lot. I may stir the coals a little bit, and so I guess that's what you're talking about. When I do that though, I like to take the lid off of the smoker or off the pit. Take the lid off or open the door on it, because when you start stirring up those coals, that ash is going to want to fly in to the inside of the pit and get on your meat. So if you've got the lid cracked open or the lid's off, that ash can fly out. And you know, you don't have to leave it off very long, but just to get your coals going again. So that's the way I would do it. That way, it's not going to prevent you from getting ash on your meat, but it will help a lot if you let all of that escape out of your pit while you're stirring up the coals. Let's see, Ruben Mendez. Hey Troy, been watching your videos. Gotta say they've helped me out a lot. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Ruben. I have a question for your Thursday chat. Have you ever used a Char Griller Smokin Pro? If not, what's a reasonable smoker you recommend for someone on a budget? No, I have not used. In fact, I don't think I've used any of the Char Griller products. I've always found them to, well, they're cheap, honestly. They look like they're mass produced, really cheap, because they're targeting folks that don't have money to spend. Maybe somebody that's just wanting to get into barbecuing, and you want something to learn on. It'd be a perfect pit to learn on, a perfect smoker to learn on. But you're going to want to eventually get something better. So I keep mentioning Greg every week, Ballistic Barbecue. I'm sorry. He swears by the pit barrel cooker as a great smoker. It's right about $200, I think, and that's shipped to you. So it is cheaper than the Weber Smoky Mountain, and you don't have to worry about adjusting vents or anything on it. So that may be the way to go for you. I have tried Brinkmann smokers. Like I said last week, I believe I started out on a Brinkmann bullet type smoker and used that thing for 4 or 5 years. It worked pretty good until I got a Weber Smoky Mountain and figured out what a real smoker can do. But it'll do the trick. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to start out and learn how to adjust your vents and that kind of thing. So the Char Griller, go for it, man. If that's what is in your budget, your price range, give it a shot. Nothing wrong with that. 66 Chevelle. Hello, T-Roy. Have you ever tried using small 12-inch hickory logs in your Weber Smoky Mountain instead of chunk wood? Can you please tell me your thoughts either way? No, in fact, what I find is that even with the smaller chunks, I just use them for smoking. I mean, I've got charcoal briquette in there. So the little chunks, they usually don't burn up fully during even like an 8-hour cook. I've still got some of that wood chunk left, and I can reuse it on my next cook. So if I'm putting a full 12-inch log in there, and you didn't specify whether you're using that for the heat source for the fuel or just for smoking, I'm guessing smoking, you'd have a lot of it left over. If you're just using that for the heat source, I would think that would make the Weber Smoky Mountain run too hot. I guess if you're doing chicken or something on the Weber Smoky Mountain, that would work. But again, I'm not sure if you're using this for fuel or just for smoking. I would stick with the chunks and use briquettes, personally. Eli Kolner, I have a question about the Texas Crutch, or I've heard it also called the Texas Cheat on barbecue pit boys. How much time does it shave off the cook if you're smoking a full packer brisket? He's also asking a couple more questions. What are you compromising in flavor, texture, color when wrapping? I love the channel, T-Roy. Thanks for always cooking so responsibly. Appreciate that, Eli. Yeah, wrapping in foil is what they call the Texas Cheat. And generally, what you want to do is get the bark to around the color that you want on the meat and then wrap it. And a lot of times that bark is pretty much the right color right around the same time that the pork butt or the brisket, as you asked, hits the stall point, which is around 155, 165, somewhere in that internal range, Fahrenheit. Um, it will speed the cooking quite a bit. You'll probably shave, oh, I've done it a couple, 2 or 3 times, and I think it saved me maybe 3 or 4 hours on the cook. It really depends on how hot you're cooking too. I'm talking about cooking like around 225. I mean, if you're cooking like a 275, it's going to shave probably closer to 4 hours off, if not more. The foil wrap doesn't really hurt the texture of the bark that much. I mean, you're still going to have a nice color. It won't be nearly as crispy, and you won't get nearly the smoke flavor in the meat when you take a bite of it. You'll get some because it probably was sitting on your smoker for a good 6 hours or so before it hit the stall, or before you wrap. So it's going to have some smoke flavor. But the bark itself, a lot of times what I will do is go ahead and wrap it, and then right at the very end, when it gets about 185 or 190 internal temp, then I'll unwrap it, and that will, I'll just pull the foil back basically and have the foil still sitting under it where all the juice is collected, and that will help crisp the bark back up. That I think works better than just leaving it foiled for the remainder of the cook, because yeah, the bark is soft when you leave it foiled and then take it off and let it rest in the foil again. That foil is basically creating a steam chamber within the foil, so your meat is steaming, and that's going to soften the bark. It'll be a whole lot juicier usually if you wrap it. The naked briskets will be a little tad bit drier, but they'll have a lot more flavor in my opinion. And that's basically why I would wrap. If I'm rushed for time, I'll wrap. If I got a cook it's a stubborn piece of meat, it's not wanting to get through that stall, and it's been in the stall for like 4 or 5 hours, I'll wrap it. I'm tired of sitting there waiting for it. It should have gone through the stall. But again, I usually unwrap right at the end to crisp that bark back up, because I like the crispy bark myself. But give it a shot. You may like the bark the way it is if you leave it wrapped the whole time. A lot of people do. It definitely speeds up cooking. It doesn't really hurt the flavor a whole lot. It's you still got the same flavor and just not quite as much smoke, and the juices just run through the meat like crazy. All that fat rendered out in there. A lot juicier than naked brisket. Let's see. Next page. What we got? Ah! My buddy, Moose Down Under. Cheers to you, Moose. Please give me your top 3 choices of sides for a family barbecue. For me, it's homemade coleslaw, beef gravy fries, or poutine. Poutine, I think is how you say it. Says he lived in Canada 9 years. Classic Greek salad. Let me hear yours, brother. Stay frosty. Regards, Moose. Appreciate that, Moose. I like potato salad and homemade potato salad. I like macaroni and cheese, and I like baked beans, homemade baked beans. That'd be my choice. Great question. Appreciate that, Moose. Mr. Smoky Goodness. Where you at, Dan? My buddy Dan. He's always got such nice things to say. Appreciate the support, Dan. Really do, man. Cheers to you, buddy. Y'all go check out Smoky Goodness. Links down below. Hit show more. I know I say this every week, and I'll say it again. Great Thursday chat video. And a twofer this week with 2 of my longtime favorite YouTubers to boot. Does it get any better? It doesn't get much better than that, Dan. I'm glad you watch it, man. I'm glad you appreciate what I do, man. I appreciate all you do too. Y'all go check out Dan's channel, Smoky Goodness. The dude rocks out some great videos, man. Great cooks. I love your editing style too, Dan. Good stuff, man. He says, I may actually have a question for you. Well, maybe not so much a question, but rather your opinion. It involves smoking wood. Earlier today, I found myself doing what I usually do before buying chunk wood. I always sort of inspect it, looking to see if there's any tree bark attached And if there is a lot, I won't buy it. There's just something that freaks me out over the tree bark. Who knows what wee beasties may still be in there. And of course, burning tree bark just doesn't sound very appetizing. Any thoughts on this? Or maybe I'm just being paranoid. No, you're not being paranoid at all, Dan. I do the same thing, man. I really do. I don't like the bark on it myself either. What I found is that, think about it this way. Bark is a tree's insulation. If you put a log in your pit, it's going to take a long time to burn through that bark. And it's going to produce a lot of really bitter smelling and bitter tasting smoke on your meat. If you have the wood without the bark on it, it'll ignite pretty quickly, and it won't produce that bitter flavored smoke into your meat. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You can smell it when you know you've got some bark burning. It's a different smell than the wood itself. So yeah, I try to get wood that doesn't have the bark on it either, but sometimes you just have to use it, you know. But that is a great question, man, and you're not alone. I'm the same way, Dan. Dean Ellison, I have a question for you. I live up in Canada and still use my gasser. He says, I still like to use my gasser, Weber Smoky Mountain, and my Weber kettle all winter long. I usually clean these big grill grates outdoors with a garden hose or a pressure washer, but that's impossible in the winter. Any suggestions on keeping the grates clean? My sink indoors is too small. Yeah, I got a great advice for you on this one. I actually do this. Whatever pit or grill that you have that's your largest one, fire it up. Clean the grates on it. And then bring your grates from your other pits, your other cookers, heat them up on your largest pit as well. And just scrub them really clean with a nice wire brush, and get them really hot, and then scrub the daylights out of them if you want, and then let them cool off. Put your little coating of oil on there, and you're good to go. Like my my Kamado Joe grill grate, it's too big for my Weber Smoky Mountain, and my sink inside is too small as well. So I just fire up my gas grill over here, get it really screaming hot. I'll sit that grill grate on there, and it may take 10-15 minutes for it to get really hot, but once it's hot, I'll just scrape it with the wire brush. Good as new, man. Good as new. And if you need to, once you have it clean, put your little coating of oil on it, keep it inside in your garage or inside in your basement or a spare room or closet, somewhere where it's not going to get rusty on you. And I think that'll work out for you. You just need some kind of heat source to clean it. You want to kill all the bacteria that may be on it, any of the barbecue sauces or rubs that still may be on the grill grate itself. You want to burn that stuff off, and the only way to do it is with heat. Another possibility just popped in my head, like a propane torch. You can use a propane torch to do that, and then go right behind it with a grill brush to scrape it clean. Yeah, propane gets hot quick. Great question, though. I appreciate that, man. Let's see. Yeah, that was Dean. Okay. Let's go to Robert Hatfield. Hey, Troy, love your channel. So, my wife doesn't like pork, but loves beef. I've been working on finding some beef ribs to put on the smoker, but they're hard to come by up here in Washington State, and they usually don't have much meat on them. Ain't that the truth? I've been up there, man. It's hard to find good meat up there in Washington. What's the best cut of beef ribs with some meat on them, and what should I ask my butcher for? Thanks, brother. Well, Robert, it starts off by having a good butcher. If you have a great butcher and you tell him you want some beef ribs with the meat on it, he should be able to cut you some. If it's one of these like Walmart type stores and stuff, and the butchers aren't wanting to do that for you because they actually would rather that meat go on other roasts and stuff where they can sell it for a lot more money. But what you could do is ask them to get ribs that are, I think they're called flanken style. Basically what they are, let's say this is the rib, okay? And you've got the meat on both sides of the rib for the meat, or for the rib bone. Flanken style, you got ribs, side by side. you know, with meat in between. Flanking style, what you do is cut across all of those bones, you know, and get a rib steak basically that's about 1.5 inches or so thick and long. And the length of it, you've got each of the different bones that you've cut through. I hope that makes sense. Flanking style ribs is what I call them. Look them up on the internet, and that's what they call them down here in Texas anyway. So if your butcher probably know what you're talking about. If you ask him for flanking style cut ribs, beef ribs, cut across the bones. So one strip of flanking style ribs may have 3 or 4 bones in it. Okay, little small bones where they cut through all of the bones, and you'll get meat that way. I actually like my ribs that way. Great question, Robert. Chevy 11/21/1947. Did Karen let you get another cooker because she got the air fryer? Yeah, she did. Did you see Baby Back's video? Talking about Baby Back Maniac here. Did you see Baby Back's video on how he turned the Weber Smoky Mountain into a pit barrel style cooker? Yeah, I did. That looked pretty cool. In fact, he offered to bring it down here when he was visiting for my my brisket wrap test a couple of weekends ago. But I told him it's okay because I got the pit barrel cooker now. So that's my new cooker. I still need to do some more testing on it, but I'll be using that in some videos coming up. Y'all stay tuned for that. Question for you. After you make a video, how much time does it take you to edit and upload it? Excuse me. That really depends on the video, Chevy. Like for these videos where I'm not stopping and starting the camera, I'm just letting the camera roll. Not much editing to do. You know, I just cut off the very beginning where I'm just kind of making sure the sound is working, making sure that the lighting is okay, making sure the dogs aren't bothering me, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll cut a little bit off the beginning, and I'll cut a little bit off the end. Because by the time I get up, after I say bye, I get up and I can go walk over and shut the camera off. You know, y'all don't need to see me doing all that. Sometimes I leave a little bit of the end in there, but most of the time, you know, those videos don't take very long. Now, what will take a long time is transferring the video from the camera to my computer. That, let's say for a 30-minute video, depending on how fast my media card is in my camera, that may take an hour, you know. Once it's in my computer, the editing part for a video of this, like these Thursday chats, not very long. Like within an hour, I can have it edited, and it'll probably take, I don't know, I've got fast internet, so it may take me, for a 30-minute video, 25-30 minutes to upload. That depends on YouTube too, though. Sometimes YouTube kind of, they don't want to accept, you know, if they've got a lot of videos being uploaded, sometimes it's a little longer, but generally it's about a minute per minute of video it takes to upload it for me. Now my cooking videos, those I'm starting and stopping the camera a lot, and I don't know how many of you know this, but a lot of times I'll shoot the opening 5 to 10 times, just hoping to get one that I like when I go into the editing booth. And I'll do the same thing with the ending. I may, you know, where I'm tasting the food and ending the video, I may do that 3 to 4 or 5 times. But between the beginning and the ending, where I'm starting and stopping the camera, you've got all those little edit spots too. Piecing it all together and, you know, trying to cut out noises if Karen's watching a movie or something, or if the dogs bark in the middle of me shooting something, you know, I may have to reshoot that scene. I may have to edit that one out and do a retake. So the videos where I'm cooking actually do take longer to edit. If I'm just cooking in the kitchen and the light's not changing a whole lot, I can probably edit, let's say maybe a 10-minute video. It may take me a couple hours to edit it, and then once it's edited, uploaded, you know, 10-15 minutes. When I do them outside and then move to inside, you got lighting changes. So I've got to work with, in my editing program Premiere, I work with the lighting, you know, the contrast and different sunlight versus fluorescent light coming in, you know, those kind of things. So I do a lot of stuff beyond just cutting and piecing the film footage together. I do with the lighting, the sound, throw up screen stuff on the screen, you know, for you. And then that's another thing too. Once it is uploaded to YouTube, then that's when I can go in there in YouTube and edit the video on YouTube side, where I can add the cards that are up here. You know, if I put a card up here, I can send you somebody else's channel or another video of mine. I put it up here. That's where I can put the end screens, where at the very end of the video you've got a subscribe button for me, and maybe over here you've got a video playlist or my most recent video or something. You know, I'll do all of that once the video's on YouTube. You know, but when I first upload to YouTube, I make the video unlisted. And this is something too for you newbies out there that I found when I started out. If you upload the video and immediately make it public, especially if you're a newbie, when people go watch your video, it's going to stop and startle. It's going to skip and stuff, because YouTube hasn't published that video to all of their servers around the world. All right, and it's going to take a while for those videos, for your video to be uploaded to, say, their server in the US, which they probably have 20 or 30 of them. And also the servers in Europe, the servers in Germany, the servers in Africa, servers in Australia. So they're worldwide, and your same video is on many different servers, and it takes a while for YouTube to propagate your video out to all parts of the world that way. So that if somebody in Australia watches my video, they're watching it from a server on YouTube side, which is in Australia. They're not connecting here to the States where I'm at. So they get to see my video a lot quicker. But what I do, I'll leave my video public. I mean, I'll leave it unlisted, and then I'll go make it public. Usually the next morning. I'll upload the video later at night, you know, when I'm getting ready to go to bed. And the next morning I'll get up, I'll finish doing the little end screenshots or the iCards up above here and stuff, and then I'll make it public, because by that time it's giving YouTube enough time to propagate that video out to the world and to their other servers out there. Man, that's a lot of talking. Anyway, and I find that the bigger you get, the more weight YouTube gives your video, so the faster it'll get spread, if that makes sense. But generally, I mean, I had one, for instance, that video that me and Greg Ballistic Barbecue did, that Thursday chat where he joined me as a co-host. I worked on that video for 4 days before I was satisfied with it, and that's the other thing too. I've got to be pleased with the video. If I'm not going to put it up. But it took me 4 days to get everything the way I wanted it. The lighting and the sound and all the piecing his and my videos together. A lot of work in the background, folks. Let's see. Chevy's got one more question here. He says, what is cold smoking and how do you do it? Cold smoking is just what it suggests. You're smoking some type of meat or sometimes cheese in a really low heat-wise environment with some smoke, like maybe 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you know, if that, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's why you see them, some of these companies put out these little small snake-looking things where you can put some either wood pellets or some kind of wood dust in their little snake mechanism and light one end, and it just slowly snakes its way around, and it provides just enough heat to cook the meat or to heat whatever, you know, the fish or whatever, to cook it, but you also get a little bit of smoke. And it's mainly the smoke though, it's not really the heat that much. So that, I don't know, I've never tried it. That's my understanding of it. I know a lot of people do like cold smoked fish and cheese. Those are real popular. Marty, let's see, Marty Stampelkowski. Sorry if I messed your name up there, Marty. Can you use apple cherry wood for propane barbecue? Sure you can. Yeah. not a problem. I use wood chips on my gas grill all the time. You can use, it depends on what you have to hold the wood in. Now, the little square metal box that I've got, it holds wood chips. It's really kind of small to be putting wood chunks on there. And I guess if you've got like one of those heat shields or something above your burner itself to kind of keep the grease from dripping, you know, that makes a nice little bed for you to put some wood chunks on if you want to do that. Or maybe get you some of those aluminum type, like a loaf pan or a little small aluminum type dish that is, you know, buy like $5 for $1 or something and throw them away after you use them. You can use that and put some wood chips or wood chunks in that too. Now, we'll say on my gas grill, if I'm using wood chips, I do like to soak them. That keeps them from burning up so quick, and that also helps produce more smoke. But yeah, great question, man. John Hill, hey T-Roy, I'm getting a loaded Wichita smoker thanks to you, and just curious, have you ever done a whole hog on it? Oh, congratulations, John. Welcome to the Yoder family, buddy. You're going to love that, Yoder. No, I have not done a whole hog, man. I want to. I'm thinking I can probably fit like a 70, 80 pound hog on mine. I do want to do that one day. Well, folks, I think this video is getting on down the road and getting pretty long. So I'm going to call it right there. I don't know how many questions that was. It's quite a bunch. And some lengthy answers too, though. I appreciate all the questions. I really do. Some great questions on this episode. So cheers to everybody out there. Again, if you like this kind of stuff, y'all give me a thumbs up. Leave me some feedback. Share your thoughts with me. Got suggestions? Let me know. If you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. And again, to open the description box, hit show more beneath the video. It'll open that up. You can find a lot of information in there, and hope that helps everybody out there. But folks, if y'all like this kind of stuff, hope y'all share the video. And when you do, hope you tell all your friends T-Roy cooks responsibly. Cheers, everybody. It's a wrap.